Welcome back to another episode of the Canon on the Boomer Bus channel. I'm your host Terry, and today reviewing The Harder They Fall on Netflix, starring a star-studded ensemble cast with Regina King, Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors. You got Lakeith Stanfield. You got just a long list of really incredible black actors. And so I didn't know anything about this. I know I saw the cast when the trailer came out, but that's all I really knew. So I went in blind and it was fire. Let me just start off. Before I even get into it, it's racial. Yes, it's racial. It's 100% racial, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is a sense of representation that I think for some people will really inspire their affinity for it, much like Black Panther did. And it is a liberatory fantasy, one of the tenets of the original Black critical race theory, and something that I'm not super well versed on and didn't quite even understand when I first read about it. But I think as time goes on and I think about more examples, and I realized that even though it wasn't labeled that or thought of as that, that's what it was. This was liberatory fantasy where we can dream about better times and better days and a better narrative than what history painted us as. And this was 100% that. Whereas I think Black Panther was a liberatory fantasy in a different spectrum of sci-fi and whatnot. This was revisionist history, whereas the director and everybody that talks about it has said, we made this story up, but it was populated with characters that were real, and these were folk heroes that were real in the West. And history is muddied up in a lot of ways. There's so many ways we could talk about that. But one of the biggest thing is people don't really often realize when slavery ended and where that kind of falls in America's history. And this is right around that time that even before slavery ended, as the director mentions, there were escaped enslaved people who had a life out in the West. And then after slavery ended, there were many that had a life out in the West, but we didn't hear about them. Much like Elvis and everybody else, we heard about them instead of the people they took music from. Same thing here. There's a lot of characters based off people who were black in the West. And so we got to see these real life folk heroes put into a fictional story that in itself was riveting, if you ask me. So, yes, it's racial. But outside of that, I would still say the movie was really good. I loved it. I mean, I just really looking at the actual, standard movie things. The performances was great. I don't really see anybody that had a weak performance. The only thing I would say about Regina King as Treacherous Trudy is, and I don't know the accuracy of the accent, it just threw me off compared to everybody else. It threw me off. Now, she might have been doing a great representation of a certain accent. I'm not sure what it was. That threw me off, but her presence did not disappoint. Regina King filled up the scene, as she always does. But other than that, yeah, the performances was great. And I love it because it's fantasy in its truest form, where it's clearly set in a certain time. There's a lot of things that are accurate to the time, but that doesn't mean we won't still allow our own flavor to creep into it, even though it's not historically accurate. You got, people had gold teeth, but not like Dion Cole. Not exactly, I would say, but that was kind of a grill. And then you had Cherokee Bill wearing the earring, which obviously earrings happen, but dudes didn't really wear them like that. And if they did, it wasn't no diamond. Clearly like that. And then some of the way they talked, and then obviously the music was contemporary. So I was cool with it though, because it really felt like not a period piece, or a period piece where everybody throws themselves into the time period and we just all pretend like to the T this is the time period. It wasn't exactly that. It was more like, we're going to take a lot of cool, dope people from right now and we're going to reclaim that time period and put our own flavor in it. And I loved it. But again, I'm straying away. The performances, again, were all great. I think as much talent as there is out there, obviously, R.I.P. to Chadwick. You got Michael B. Jordan out there, who is a presence. I still have my feelings about him, but he's a presence. You got the incredible Jamie Foxx. You got Denzel. You got Jonathan Washington's son. You got all types of excellent talent. I still think they put together a very charismatic group that really played well off each other, where everybody didn't have to be the same, because Jonathan Majors is going to be quiet and intense. That's just what he is. Like, it's in his eyes. And then you got Idris Elba, who can be physically imposing and intense. He could do all those things. You got Regina, who has her presence. You got Stanfield, who is versatile but can give you that very quiet charisma. RJ Cyler, who we haven't seen a whole lot of, gave you that high key charisma. But then you had the other dude, who I only know him from X-Men First Class. I don't know what else he's been in, but he gives you more like a quiet, stoic character. And then you got I'm forgetting how to pronounce his name, but my man from back in the day, I was about to say Lando Elroy. That is not that man's name, but you know what I'm talking about. And he gives you that. Zazie Beetz gives you good energy. It's a really well put together cast. Performance is good. Production I like. I heard some complaints, but and I don't think it's at all Black Panther level, but I do like, and maybe I'm changed my mind because I just came from New Orleans, but I love the colors and the vibrancy. Now, that's not 100% our thing like New Orleans, but still, I think it just gives it life rather than just the old dusty, tattered down thing in a city where we're supposed to be a Black Mecca. And I don't even know if they used that term back then. But again, it was contemporary within the past. It was supposed to be a Black Mecca to have these vibrant, lively colors, like the same way that is not 100% African, but inspired by. And so I thought the production and everything was good. The clothing, like I said, some of the choices, again, weren't completely accurate to the time, but it worked. So I loved all that. And then the story to me was pretty compelling because it has to be simple. That's just what Westerns, it should be. It shouldn't be this overly complicated plot. I love this idea of, you did me wrong, now I'm coming after you. It's a hunt. But then they add layers to it. Obviously, the ending, when you find out that's his half brother and like what that means. And I think, again, kind of being cousins in Black Panther, you see that kind of discussion. But again, it's a very intentional discussion about fathers and what they can be and how they can be different for different people and all those different things and what it means to be a brother or, to be brothers. And so all of that, but then you also get this discussion about, which I wasn't prepared for at all, this discussion about independent Black wealth and sustainability. And while I do think they did a good job of telling you that, hey, they wanted a noble thing, because we've seen that where the quote unquote bad people want to do something right, or maybe two people want to do something the same, but they have different ways of getting there. They want to do something noble, but their methods of getting there are a little crazy. Now, to me, that was plain, but I never really understood why. Like, why are you going about it this way? They have a lot of shots. And again, that's why I say it's a liberatory fantasy. Because they have a lot of shots at white people. A lot of shots. Some, veiled, some not so much. And so I get all that. But then why, if you feel that way, do you turn around and kill other black people the way y'all do? And so, like Regina is just like, if they say a word that starts with N, I'm shooting them, like, basically. And it's like, you have that type of conscience, but then you will kill a black mother and her kids and everybody else. Like, what does that really mean? And why are you doing that? That kind of feels counterproductive. But other than that, I would say there's good layers to the story other than just a revenge tour. And so, and then even, I would say again, just sprinkling this in there, this idea that Idris got out because he got pardoned because this whole crew did some real dastardly stuff. And they, there's this question about people who do things based on circumstances and environment, and they became the way they became. Obviously, we heard Idris' father and all that, versus these people of privilege who are in a privileged place and they still do terrible things. And so they were trying to compare evil versus evil. But I thought it was interesting to say that, oh yeah, we pardoned him just to kill y'all because y'all was the real messed up ones, rather than what we do, which we're just trying to build up our own place. So I thought that was cool. But again, the layers to the story I enjoyed. So the performance, the production, the story. I'm not a big soundtrack / score person, but obviously the music's prevalent in here. It's fire. And just, I don't know, it's so many small things that just is so fire to me in this movie, and I love it. I would say the one thing which I can't remember everybody's name, but the sharpshooter that was with Nat Love now, who was from X-Men First Class. When we first see him, he's singing this song, so like, okay, the song is introduced, it's not out of nowhere. But the way that he sings it, and Nat sings it, and Bill or is his name Bill? Ooh, I forgot RJ Cyler's character's name. But the way they were singing it, when they were strapping up to get ready to have the final fight, it felt like the affinity you get with Greek life. It felt like the affinity you have from the old Negro hymns. It feels like the affinity you get in church. It feels like all that. There's a different bond, a different energy that we see in our culture when we're singing, and we know we're conveying. We're not even saying the words. The words in the song ain't even saying exactly what we mean, but we know what we mean. And the way they looked at each other, oh my God. I love this movie. I love this movie. And so, I thought all the technical things and the performances, I thought it was all there. I thought a lot of it was creative and all that. And the story I loved and all that. And I don't know, it's just hard. It's just the way it hit me is the biggest thing that sticks out with me. But I'm still trying to look at each of the technical pieces, which I thought was there because I thought the dialogue was witty, the interactions, the banter, the chemistry, all that was good. I thought the story was tight while still adding in, again, some added layers, because you don't want a wild story, but you still want to do something new. And I thought they did a little something new while having the Western tropes, but they still did something new. And then the representation, like I said at the beginning, is racial. It means something. And so for me to grade it, I would give it a 93%. A 93%. So I would give it probably an A-. That'd be where I'm at. So anyway, what'd you think? Go to the comment section, let me know. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. And if you heard it here, it's official canon.